That's how you have to move, bro. You got to call shots outside of your norm and stand on it. That's the part of quantum leaping. Because if it wasn't for that, everybody could do it. Everybody can trust what they can see. You know, everybody can run a sweep. You know what I'm saying? Everybody can throw a 5-yard out into the flats. But I'm telling you, man, a lot of people aren't trying to throw a Hail Mary through the clouds, bro. Because you risking it all. It's fourth and forever. If nobody catches that ball, you're doomed. You're doomed, and everybody in your circle is doomed. Mainly because I don't have this conversation in this entirety with too many people. I'll normally have it. I'll have this conversation in pieces and portions, but I rarely, if ever, you know, outside of a one-on-one conversation, have put all these elements, you know, together and had this conversation, man. Because I'll say this. You know, we can have some conversations, kind of like the whole 1% conversation like we had, I believe, last month. We can have a lot of conversations, and we'll continue to have a lot of conversations that will help us move forward and accomplish things and knock down mountains and the whole shebang. But this conversation right here, man, it hits a little different because I'm aware that most people that desire to move forward, it's not that they don't desire to move forward. It's not that they don't really know what to do and all this kind of stuff. It's what takes place when you start moving forward that most people are unaware. And it's the thing that makes people retreat back to their old world. All right, so creating and weathering your storm, how to initiate and survive your quantum leap. And like I was saying, it's not that a lot of people, even if they can't really speak to it, it's not that a lot of people don't know how to quantum leap. It's that when things start happening, when they start moving in a certain way, it makes people run back to their old ways, right? Reason is important because most people want to see quantum. Most people want a quantum leap, but that's on the note I put. But the fear they want to see is the fear is what they see ahead, man. In other words, and I'll say it again, a lot of people are aware, or a lot of people are doing certain things unaware to move forward. But when life starts to happen, it's what freezes them up, man. So let's get into it, right? So what we have to understand, man, is that the breakthrough begins with a storm. Like the thing that keeps everybody frozen from moving forward, that's the thing that everybody should be looking for. Because that's the thing that lets you know that, hey, you know what? Something is about to change. Like all these things I'm doing, like it's happening now. But a lot of times when we see this storm, man, like a lot of people retreat. I can count on 4, and I want to say 5 because I'm actually in the process of, you know, creating storms in my life now to create change. But I can count on 4 times in my life, going back to even when I was even 21 years old and decided to join the military. 4 times in my life, man, where I made a quantum leap. And when I say quantum leap, I'm talking about where in around anywhere between 30 and 90 days, life just changed instantly to the point where I could be at that 90-day period and turn around and look back and say, man, there's no way in the world my life should have done that much changing in that short of time. I'm talking about that. I can count on 4 on 4 fingers how many times that's happened. Now, the pattern that I noticed, man, after, of course, once I got older, once I could look back over the course of 10, 15, 20 years, the pattern that I noticed is that there was always destruction before that quantum leap finished. You know what I'm saying? Like meaning, and a lot of times I say like the bottom fell out. Like life just did some crazy things before I got to that next destination in 30 or 90 days. You know, and what I thought that was, and I even spoke about this on some YouTube videos, maybe about 4 years ago. I don't know. It's been a while. And I was saying to myself, I see, and I was sharing on the video. I said, you know, every time I make a change, it's like I got to hit a bottom first where everything just goes crazy. And what I said to myself, what I said on video, I said, you know what? It's something I'm doing. I said, I think I'm just getting to a point where I'm comfortable, man. Maybe I'm dropping the ball. Maybe I'm just drifting. Maybe I'm doing something, because every time before I make a quantum leap, my life just goes to the bottom. But what I noticed was this. Once I started doing like more one-on-one consultations, and once I would like start working with a client and we may work together for a whole year. Let's say we work together for a whole year. The whole first 1 or 2 months, we're putting a game plan together, getting things started, getting a plan of action in place. But around month two, maybe the end of the first month, maybe around month three at the latest, their world would just collapse. Almost to the point where they say, "Hey, soul man, I got to stop doing the calls, man. Like life is just doing some crazy stuff." It could be something as simple as, "Hey, I lost my job, my wife left." Some kind of chaos came into their life, and I noticed that every single time that happened, right after that, is when their life went to that next level. And after like a year or two, I said, "Man, it seems like everybody goes through that before they get to that next stage." And then it just dawned on me, man. I'll say a couple of years ago, I said, you know what? All the stuff that we study, all the stuff that I read, it only makes sense for chaos to come into your life before something changes. Because you got to understand, like by law, change can't even take place without chaos. It can't even take place. And for some reason, I said, you know what? I don't know why I never thought about that. A lot of people expect for their lives to be like this. And all of a sudden they say, "Oh, well, I get a grand idea. I want to do something different." And they think that their life is just going to boom, catapult to the next level. That never happens. Matter of fact, it's impossible to happen for a quantum leap. I'm saying if you want to make a minor change in life, if you want to go from 50 cents in your rate at your job to 75 cents, yeah, you won't have too much turbulence. You know what I'm saying? You want to lose 2.5, 5 pounds for the summer. You won't have too much turbulence. You know what I'm saying? A small change won't cause turbulence, but I'm talking about when you want a quantum leap. When you say, "This is what my life is doing, the vision in my mind is this, and it looks nothing like my world does right now." It's impossible by the laws of nature. It's impossible to go from A to B without having some kind of storm. And once I understood that, man, I just started putting a lot of pieces together. Like if you look back at where I put it right here. I'm not sure if y'all have anybody read the Kabbalion. It's definitely a good book to read for those. If y'all, I know a few brothers in here are in the Power Circle. A year or two, man, we kind of broke the Kabbalion down to nuts and bolts. If you haven't read the Kabbalion, it's a good read, man. It's pretty much just the Hermetic text. You know what I'm saying? Breaking down the Hermetic text. And in the Kabbalion, it breaks down how things are created. And to be honest, that was the aha moment for me when I read that. It was talking about what God was. And God is, in a nutshell, God is the only thing in existence that is constant energy, that does not vibrate. It's just constant. It just is what it is. Everything else for it to exist is vibrating. It uses the pendulum like we talk about, right? And the Kabbalion, what it says the way that everything is created is by putting vibration, which is thought, into that constant energy. So in order for somebody to create something as simple as this water bottle, somebody had to put that thought energy into the ether. In order to create any single thing in existence, even ourselves, it's a matter of taking something that vibrates, which is a state of chaos, and putting it into something that's constant. You know what I'm saying? And I know y'all probably heard me say this a million times, man. Like anything that vibrates is just a creation between two polar opposites. You know, in the book of Singular Truth, man, I said I broke it down to the smallest example. I said if a person wanted to create the color gray, they could simply take a black crayon, a white crayon, and blend them two together on one accord and create what is in the middle, right? So everything vibrates, right? So if everything that's created comes from a state of stagnant energy and it takes some kind of change, like that's law. That must mean it applies to everything. You know what I'm saying? If it's law, that means it applies to everything, right? So you gotta look like this. Look, and I'm trying to speak on this, man, in the simplest terms without having to expand on it. You have to understand that our lives right now, everybody's life is as close to the God state as it can be. And I would go on to say that 90% of your life is in that state, that constant energy state. Not saying your life is how you want it to be. Not saying life is on a high horse and all that stuff, but you're in a God state because you're mixing two different truths to come to one truth. And that truth might not be what you want, but it's the state that you're in, right? And that's a whole conversation. So you got to understand that your life is as close to God consistent state that it can be. I'm talking about just waking up every day, doing what you're doing. Whether we wake up every day, go to the gym first, go to work after that, come home, cook dinner, go to sleep, pet the dog. You know, we pretty much do the same things every single day, Monday through Friday at minimum. And that creates a certain cadence, which eventually turns into a constant energy, which is what your life is, right? So again, going back to the law, in order to change that constant energy, it's all about bringing some outside chaos into your constant energy. Again, because that's the law. You know what I'm saying? Now, a lot of people, let's say it like this. Like a lot of people are aware of, okay, I understand that in order to change my life, I gotta do something different. I gotta wake up and create certain rituals. But for a lot of people, when they're trying to leap, they're doing this unintentional. Like not unintentional, but they're doing this without an awareness of what's taking place in the background. Again, because everybody thinks that when we do a certain thing, that result just it's the automatic next level. But it's impossible for it to happen like that. And I know I keep saying that, but I'm trying to punch home this fact that a lot of people retreat when it changes. I'm punching that home because I'm 100% sure that this is the primary reason most people don't elevate. Don't go to that next level, right? So all I want to say about this first part is we must be intentional about creating a storm and expect the destruction it brings. You know what I'm saying? In a nutshell, what I'm saying on this first part is if you're going to take your life to the next level, and you're going to do it, when you take your life to the next level, you have to be prepared for everything that you call normal to fall away. You have to be prepared for every single thing in your life to fall away. Your job, your relationships, your relationship with your kids, your pet living or dying, the friends you call friends. Everything in your life, you have to say, you know what? There's a good chance that when I get to the end of this journey, this situation won't be like it is now. You have to understand that first, right? So understanding that, I want to talk about creating your storm and what you must understand really before you create your storm, right? You got to understand this. I'm gonna take a squeeze here, brothers. Because if you create your storm without knowing your power, it's not going to end up like you want. It's going to end up in retreat. It's going to end up in failure. Like you have to understand your power. I love this quote, man, and I know y'all have heard me say this a million times. And every time I'm going over something deep, this just pops up in my mind because I'm like, I don't believe Charles Hannell understood the power of what he was saying, or maybe he did. But in the book, Master Key System, I just had that book somewhere, man. I don't know why I said it. In the book, Master Key System, Charles Hannell said something, man, that when I read this part, man, I had to put that book down for probably 2 or 3 days, man. Hannell pretty much talked about quantum leap. And he said, in order for any man to take a quantum leap, he has to know 3 things. He has to have knowledge of his power. He has to have the courage to dare, and he has to have the faith to do. So when he said that knowledge of his power, man, a lot of people read that and skip over, man. But you got to understand, if you don't understand what you're capable of, then when you get on down the road, brothers, it's not going to end up how you think. So before I talk about creating a storm, man, I want to talk about 3 powers that you have to be aware of, man. And they're not major powers. It's more of just an awareness, man. The first one is you have to understand that you have the power of I'll say the power of choice. Well, let's call it free will. You know, we use that term free will all the time, but I believe most people use that term free will still speaking of it inside of a box. Like a lot of times, and I'll just say like in church, when we use the term free will, we pretty much use that like, okay, you know what? I have the ability to decide between good and bad. Like I got the ability to to choose between going right and going left. And we speak about it from within a box. But when I'm talking about freedom of choice, freedom of free will, I'm talking about the ability to completely step out of your life and think and have the ability to think of any scenario. It took me a long time to understand that most people don't do that. Think about what I'm saying, man. Think about what I'm saying. We have the ability to think anything, to mentally go anywhere, to choose any decision we want to choose, but we make our decisions within a limited scope. It's kind of like the video game, man. I love using video games because like when we talk about I guess they call it like free world games, like your Call of Duties and all this kind of stuff. Like the mission may be over here. And within that mission, you can make some alternative decisions. You can go to the left, you can go to the right, but at the same time, you can go completely somewhere where the war is not even taking place. You can go somewhere completely different. And even though that sounds simple, you have to understand most human beings don't do that. So the power of free will, and ultimately all I'm saying is if you grow up and everybody in your family is an engineer, everybody in your family is a carpenter, and you grow up and you say, hey, this is the route I can take, and you go that route, you have to understand that you can stop and completely go a different direction. And I know that sounds simple, but I guarantee you 90+% of the population doesn't think. That's why I love when Hannah said you got to have the courage to dare. You got to have the courage to think outside of your norm. So if you're talking about quantum leaping, you got to completely come out of that box. So the power of free choice is huge because to bring any kind of chaos in your life, you have to understand that you have to be able to step outside of the norm, or really no large amounts of chaos can even be created. No large amount. Again, going back to that scenario I said, you want to create gray, you can take a black crayon and a white crayon and mix those two together and get a gray. But if you want to create a fuchsia pink, oh, you got to go outside the realms. You got to go somewhere else. So that's what I'm talking about, man. If you don't understand the power of free will to move in any direction in any way, you really can't create those massive amounts of change. You really can't create those massive amounts of change. So the first one is the power of choice. Understand that one. The second is the power of vision. The power of vision. I believe the Bible said, what did it say? A man without vision shall perish. You got to understand this. And we all read that growing up. A man without vision shall perish. And we can all take that and look at it 100 different ways. But a man without vision can do nothing. I'm going to tell you this. There's no movement. You graduate high school, you get on at that plant at 18 years old. If you have no vision, you're retiring right there. You're retiring right there, man. There is no quantum leaping. There is no forward movement without vision. Because in order for anything to take place in this third dimensional plane, it has the first take place in the mind, which is quote unquote heaven. When you hear a lot of books talk about the heavens and earth, it's talking about your mental space. You know, when the Kundalini talk about, oh, man should learn how to bring his heaven upon his earth, that's all they're talking about. He should learn how to create that mental space, right? And bring that mental space into this third dimensional world. And it don't make sense for us to go down through there, man, because if you're in here, you have access to the 4 levels of becoming, creating that vision. But you have to understand, when I say understanding this power, you have to understand this. I don't care what scenario you're in. I don't care if you're sleeping under a bridge. I don't care if you're 90 years old and you're still making minimum wage trying to get it out the mud. If you can create it in your mind and follow those 4 steps, there's nothing that can stop you from getting it. And the reason I like focusing on power of vision, man, because you got to understand, like a lot of times when we try to do something, the first thing that comes to our quote unquote ego mind is the reasons why we can't do it, the cap. Like, oh, well, I don't got a degree from here. I don't have this kind of credit score. I don't have X. I don't know these people. I don't know this. You know what I'm saying? Or my skin color is this, or I don't speak this language, or I'm from a foreign country. You got to understand, vision wipes all of that out. So that's why I'm saying you have to understand this power, because if you don't understand these power, once you start traveling this journey, once you start walking these desert sands, if you don't know these things, you're stuck, man. You're living life in limbo. So understanding your vision, understanding that whatever scenario you're in, man, I don't care your age, your race, your any demographic. If you can create it in your mind, I put it on my life. I put it on my life. You can bring that thing to be. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying I have the best world, but I love my life. And I understand that the reason my life, it is what it is not because I read a certain book. It's not because I know a certain person. It's because I understand this power right here. When a lot of people want to get on YouTube and talk about, oh, well, these people are against these people and we can't move because the Democrats and the Republicans. It's like, bro, I can't even entertain that. Because I understand if I put something here, man, I understand it has to play out if I follow the laws that govern this place. So the first one is power of choice. The second one is power of vision. And the third one is power of belief in thought, or the power of creation. The power of creation, man, understanding that if I can take a certain thought, and it's tied into the power of vision. If I can take this certain thought and put it into the ether, or put it into this thinking stuff, like my brother Wallace Waddle said, that if I can put it in there, I can create it. Not just physical things like water bottles and cars and homes and all that stuff, but if I can put any scenario in that block, if I can put any scenario in my thoughts and put that out into this invisible substance around us, I know that I can make that thing happen. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people, man, we talk about faith a lot of times, man. But bro, it has to be a knowing. It can't just be a belief, which a belief might be strong enough, but it has to be a knowing. We have to know these things. And of course, there are a million laws that govern the world, but I believe you have to know these three. Have to know these three because when the storm hits that we create, you got to be able to stand in it, bro. And if you don't know these, you can't stand of it. And when I talk about creation, I'm simply talking about alchemy. You must become an alchemist. You must be able to take any kind of energy, any kind of feedback, and transmute it into whatever you want to. We always talk about the power of your emotional state. To be an alchemist is simply to master your emotional state. That's all being an alchemist is. Having the ability to master your emotional state. Not letting anybody change that, bro. You have to know this. And I'm gonna tell you that, and we're gonna talk about it in a minute, because there are gonna be some things that take place that's gonna snatch your soul out your body and want to step on it. But if you can't operate from that state, bro, you're not ready to create no storm. You're not ready to quantum leap. You got to understand what I'm talking about today, man, is not for everybody. This is only going to pertain to at the most 5% of the population. I'm not talking about something that everybody is aware of. I'm not talking about something that's preached from the pulpit. I'm talking about something, brothers, today, man, that will allow you to wake up every single day. And sisters, I say brothers, but y'all know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something that will allow you to wake up every single day and do what you want to do. You got to understand that, man. I wouldn't even want y'all to be here if we wasn't talking about some of that magnitude. And again, I'm not saying my life is old, soul's life is just grandiose. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying every single day I wake up, it's exactly what I wanted to do. I'm calling the shots. You know what I'm saying? And even if I have a bad day or a bad season, I know I still call that shot. So just me being responsible for my scenario, but it keeps me in a state. And I can say, oh, well, I did something wrong. Let me just fix this and get it back right. That's how you want to live, man. You don't want to be one of these people, man, that wake up every Monday dreading going to work or praying for the weekend or praying for, and I use work, but this applies to everything. Being in a bad relationship, you don't want to be that person. So the first thing before you create your storm, man, is you got to understand the power that you have. Like Hanno said, knowledge of your power. So power of choice, power of vision, and power of belief in thought. You must know these. Now let's talk about creating the storm, man. Let me get a little water, man. God is good, man. Let's talk about creating the storm. So the first thing when I'm talking about creating this storm to cause this change, the first thing you must accept the world you're in is yours. Like we're not even talking about change yet. We're not even talking about we're not talking about nothing else but sitting still, looking around your world, looking around your finances, looking around your health, looking around everything in your life and say, you know what? I have to own this if I want to make change. Yeah, my money is funny, man. My health is declining. All these things are happening, man. You got to say, you know what? I have to own that I did it first. Because if you don't own this, then whatever I say after this point is null and void. If you don't own this, you don't understand what we just talked about, the powers. The power that what you're living in is what you created. So the first thing, man, rain, sleet, or snow, good or bad, heaven or hell, look around your world, look at every single thing in it, and find a way to own 100% of it. Even if it's hard for you to understand it. Even if it's like, man, I don't understand, man, that the job laid me off, that the woman cheated on me, the man cheated on me, or all these other scenarios that seem to be outside of your range of being able to control, own it. Say, you know what? I understand I'm powerful enough that I created that thing, good or bad, man. It changes everything, right? So the first thing is own your situation. The second thing is you must be definite about the change that you want. You must be definite about the change that you want, man. I started saying this on videos a while back. And when I started saying it on videos is when it changed in my one-on-one consultations. Because about 2 years ago, I would just say online that the craziest thing to me, man, people would boom, let's book a session. Hey, I want to work with you during the year 2022. And we doing one. The first thing I would ask, man, is like, okay, you know what? Of course, once we say, let's talk about what life is doing, right? Let's own that first, right? And that might be a whole conversation. But then I would say, okay, man, well, what do you want life to look like? Like, what's the vision? Like, where are you going? And man, it's silence. It's crickets. And I'm not saying that I'm saying this is common. I'm saying this is common for a person to be roaming around this world and have no direction. And once you understand the power of it, it's scary to understand that people would even live like that. To live life with no direction. So you must be definite about where it is you want to go. And it might be like, hey, you know what? I'm a second grade school teacher. I want to teach students in high school. I want to go and get this certification. I want to go and get this training. I want to go rub elbows with this person, get this kind of knowledge, and I want to be in this position. You have to know that. If you don't know that, man, you're on a bridge that's going to nowhere. Think about this. If we have the power to create everything we're creating, in order to own it, if you have no direction, all you're doing is regurgitating life. All you're doing is regurgitating life, waking up year after year, scratching your head saying, man, why is everybody else moving? Why is everybody else getting a pay raise and getting new jobs and moving out the country and people getting married and having kids, but my life is still doing the same? You're aware of who you are and you have no direction. That's like being on a boat with no sail, with no oars, with no motor, and you're just out there trying to cross the vast oceans. It's like, how? So we have to be definite. And I'm not talking about just like, oh, well, I want to be in a new city. You got to be definite to create a storm. To create a storm, and you have to be definite about what you want, right? Third, After the four levels of becoming, you must bring the chaos, right? And again, I'm not going into the four levels of becoming because we've already spoken on that. You know what I'm saying? We already have lectures on that, but just a refresher. The four levels of becoming are, first something comes into an idea, then it turns into a thought. That thought goes to the state of meditation, and from meditation, it goes into the state of being the I am, right? So once you hit those four levels of becoming, now you must take that. Oh, my screen is doing that thing again. You must take that information and bring chaos with that information. Once you've created a new identity and now you're walking, you have the full state knowledge of how to be a different being, you must take that energy and that's what you create the storm with, which means you must take this new I am that you walk in and go against the grain in every walk of life. That's how the storm is created. I'm gonna say it again, man. I need y'all to understand, and y'all know this, but I need y'all to understand, man, like it has to be intentional. Like we wake up every day, we go through the motions, we do a certain thing, our life pans out, it's doing a certain thing. It's like, okay, life is good, but I want this to happen. You have to go through the four levels of becoming, become something else, and take this energy and pretty much put it at war with your old world. You know what I'm saying? Where you're saying, I know that I get up every day and do a certain thing, but I'm getting ready to create a whole different world. You must go against the grain in every possible way. And when I say go against the grain, yeah, I'm talking about your rituals. If everything we do, everything we think, everything we are is creating our world, then you got to understand if you're all, I'm gonna say it like this. And I want to say it like this for a reason. Because I grew up in the church, right? And I understand that us as human beings are taught this. We're taught that, okay, you're going through something and you won't change. The first thing you need to do is get on bended knee and ask the Lord to bring you something else. And I'm not saying nothing's wrong with that, because there's a place for that type activity. There's a place for that type activity. But I'm gonna tell you, we call that prayer, but that's not prayer. To be honest, in my opinion, we're even doing that wrong, because what we're doing is affirming. When we get on bended knee, we're supposed to be affirming what we said is, affirming, telling God we affirm this. We're not supposed to get on our knees and beg for God, please just let bread and leaven or whatever fall from the heavens upon me. That's not what we're even built to do. We're not even supposed to be moving like that. And I'm not saying times won't happen sometimes where I sit in that chair and I have those kind of conversations, but it don't last but 5 minutes. I might have those help me conversations just to kind of vent and get it off my chest. But when I get out that chair, I'm back on it. Because you got to understand, the next step to create that storm is not what most people are doing. And that's why most people desire a thing, but their life never changes. Like a lot of our grandparents, a lot of us, man, we desired a certain life. We were going to certain institutions, getting certain knowledge. 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, nothing ever changed. It's like, man, we praying, we paying our tithes, we doing all these things, but nothing ever changes. It's because we aren't doing that right. It's because we aren't creating right. That's why I said the knowledge up above we just talked about. If you don't have that knowledge, at some point, one of those issues are going to hit you and you're going to be stuck. You know what I'm saying? It takes more than this. It takes more than just prayer. Now I'm going to refer to my book, A Singular Truth. I spoke about this. I spoke about this. I'm gonna read a quick point, brothers. And this is in a chapter called All Prayers Are Answered. And I was talking about this very thing. I said, is this a form of communication with God? And I'm talking about the prayer as we know it. Yes. However, this is not prayer, nor is it the process of creation. Man carries on about his life just as he did before the request was made, and wakes up every morning hoping to see the evidence that God has finally decided to bless him. That's what most people do, right? Then I said, day in and day out, he entertains the same thoughts, habits, and actions as he did before, but now he is expecting a different result to come from them. That's how a lot of our grandparents move. They just didn't know. They wake up doing a certain thing, wanting something different to happen to them, right? Then I said this: blind to the truth and having never experienced life without his veil, meaning this information, he is unaware that these three blind to the truth and having never experienced life without his veil, he is unaware that these three attributes, again, referring to thoughts, habits, and actions, are the elixir that created his current situation and is the same formula that will rescue him out. You got to understand, the same thing we did to create the world we're in right now, that's the elixir. That's the formula. The same thing we did to create this world right now is the exact same thing we have to do to create a new world. It's like we forget that, or we're just unaware of it, which means you got to understand. We have to understand how powerful it is. The things we do every day, we don't understand how powerful it is. Like we don't understand that when we wake up and thumb on the ground for a few minutes and do all these just regular things and go and work halfway at work and come home and watch it. We don't understand. We think we're just living life. We're creating life. And when we go 5, 10, 15 years and nothing happens, it's like, why won't my life do what everybody else is doing? It's because your formula is building what you're building. Oh, you're connecting with God. You ain't got to get on bending knee. You talking to God 24 hours a day, whether you know it or not. 24 hours a day, we're requesting this is what we want our life to be. So when I'm talking about bringing that storm and going against the grain, once you become that new thing, you got to say, okay, you know what? I understand my life is doing what it's doing or was doing what it was doing because that's who I was. Now I'm this person. Now when I wake up, I'm about to create a whole nother storm around myself. I'm about to create a whole nother existence rather. And the storm comes when two existences, I know that's not a word, when two different forms of existence come together. That's where the storm comes in. Your old world and your new world clash. Think about nature, man. Think about how a actual storm is built. A storm just doesn't become a storm. A storm comes when the temperature, and I'm no meteorologist, but a storm comes when the temperature is in a constant energy, a state of God, constant energy, and either a colder or hotter bubble of energy comes its way and they mix. It causes chaos. And out of that chaos comes precipitation, which blesses the whole world. But that chaos can't take place if there's nothing outside of that constant energy. You know what I'm saying? Like even when you take this, when I take this water bottle out the refrigerator, it's probably 40 degrees. But when I sit it in this house is 70 degrees, that's why that condensation builds up. That's chaos around this bottle. That's craziness. It's saying there's too much going on. Something has to take place. You know what I'm saying? So that's how we create our storm. That's how we create our storms, is by understanding that it has to be a massive change in our thoughts, our habits, and our actions. And sometimes a lot of people are doing this, like I said, but they don't understand what's taking place. So when the world happens, now they're like, oh, snap, something's happened. I got to run from this. And they run back to 77 degrees. They run back to wherever they were. They run back to the old habits because it's safe. So when I'm talking about going against the grain, I want to talk about this slightly different, slightly a little bit deeper. When I say live life against the grain, you have to live life from your vision. You know what I'm saying? You have to live life from that state, regardless of what you see. And again, this applies to every scenario. You know what I'm saying? For example, and I share this with my brothers. Some of y'all, I share this all the time, man. The first time I really understood this, I could look back and really point to this, is when I left my job. You know, when I left my job in 20, I remember. Well, I can look at all scenarios and see the same thing. But just going back to my job, I use it as an example. I can remember becoming something else. Meditation for 2 or 3 months. I was watching YouTube videos, getting a frequency. I made that frequency my heaven. I made it my own. And I began to live from that space. And I began to meditate from that space. You know what I'm saying? And meditate from that space in order to be that thing in this third dimensional plane. Like that's the only goal of meditation. To be honest, meditation really has no power. It really has no power but to maintain, because the vision is created. That's how you build a vision. But to bring that vision out and bring it to this life, meditation has no power except to remind you of what the vision is. Because when you first create the vision and we walking around this world and we like, okay, this is what life is. And at night when I get home off work, I go back and sit in this chair and I go to that state. It's simply to remind me of where I'm going. So the next day I can wake up and bring a piece of that frequency with me. After so many hours or days or weeks or months, whatever it takes, when I can feel it, fully remember what that state is and I made it a part of myself, now I'm in that fourth state of walking in my I am. Now there's no difference between me living and me meditating. And when I understand that now I'm supposed to do something with this. So again, going back to your career, once you become something else, once Ant becomes this worldwide radio host, which he will be, he has to conduct himself as that in every single room. It must be his only truth. And what I saw when I went to work in this new thing, it wasn't intent. I mean, I was intentional about my being, but I had no intention of creating a storm at work. But I'm going to work with this entrepreneurial spirit about myself because that's what I became. Having no idea it was creating a storm at work. They didn't even know what to call it because I was still doing everything by the books. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Turning reports in on time. Everything was good. But since my energy was saying, you're no longer working here. My energy no longer fit there. I was an entrepreneur still there. It caused a storm at my job. And that storm turned into many, many things. And it came to the point where I couldn't take the storm no more. And by me walking in my I am, I created something else. And I was able to step out of that job with ease. Only because I came to this state and went against the grain. And when I say go against the grain, I'm not talking about causing problems. I'm talking about going against my old world. That's all I'm talking about, going against my old world. Where normally if I was in a business meeting and I was sitting back scared to lose my job because this is my only way to eat and keep my lights on, I'm quiet. Yes, sir, boss. What y'all say is right, boss. But now that I'm in this entrepreneurial spirit, we're in a business meeting. I'm like, you know what? This really don't make sense. I'm thinking. And I say, sir, you know what? If we did this instead of this, we would get this result. And they took that as pressure. Like, whoa, like, You're not supposed to do that, but I didn't know I wasn't supposed to because I was somebody else. You know what I'm saying? So that's when I'm talking about going against the grain. Even when it comes to our health, man, again, we have to own our situation. You got to say, you know what, man, our bodies are doing a certain thing or not doing a certain thing because of decisions I made. In order to fix that, I have to become somebody else and do a certain thing. I have to create a whole nother storm in my life. Now that storm might make me get sick for a minute. It may make me do whatever, but I understand I have to go against the grain of my old self. The same thing when it comes to relationships. You got to go against the grain of your old self. You know what I'm saying? Everything about that's how the storm is created. By becoming a new thing and saying, you know what? I see what my world has produced. I see it. I'm still in it, but I'm going to ignore it and walk in my current state. Bro, your life is finna do some crazy stuff. I know we talking about it lightly, like, oh, step one, step two. Your life is gonna do some crazy stuff, bro. Sis, whoever on the call, I guarantee your life is gonna turn cartwheels. So understanding this is what takes place, it means we have to be very intentional about, I'll say it like this, and I say it all the time. Knowing what we know now, we have to be very intentional about two things. I've been saying it for the last 3 years. I said, when a man wakes up, and again, when I say man, y'all know what I mean, mankind. When a man wakes up every single day, Monday through Monday, he must ask himself two questions. Who am I and where am I going? Like I say it all the time to the point now where I'm sure people just hear it and say, oh, okay, he's saying that thing again. It's everything. It's everything. Because you gotta ask, when a man asks him, when he gets out of bed in the morning, when he says, who am I? That's telling the man, what energy do I need to be? Like reminding myself. I know I'm finna get up and go to this job. I know I'm finna wake up and see this wife or husband beside me that's draining my energy. I know XYZ is finna take place today. It happens every day. But who am I? Because in order to create something else, I have to walk in a different identity. Like if a man isn't asking himself that every single day, it's just a matter of days before he's drifting. That's why I got it tatted on me. Soul, compass. Every day I look at myself, I want to say, who am I? Where am I going? Because that's what keeps me on track. And I'm not saying we're not going astray sometimes. That's all a part of self-mastery. But if you aren't asking yourself, who am I? You're waking up every day and you don't even know what suit to live in. You don't even know who you're supposed to be to create a certain thing. So who am I? Who and where am I going? Meaning when a man must ask himself, where am I going? That means he must say, what rituals, what habits, what thoughts, and what actions must I do today to fulfill the mission? That's why it's everything, man. Everything. And then recently I just started saying, hey, what is my truth? The third question is, like, what is my truth? I see my world doing a certain thing. I see the bills still doing a certain thing. I see everything still doing a certain thing. My health is still doing a certain thing. But what is my truth? What is it that I am standing on? What is it that I believe is being built? What is it that I believe as far as the power that I have? Man, if you aren't asking yourself what your truth is, man, it's a wrap, man. So thoughts actually, so yeah. So again, due to the laws that govern this world, it is impossible to change your world without those two things, right? It is impossible to create a storm in your life without asking yourself who you are and where you're going, because you must go against the grain of your old life, right? Now, and I just got some examples. If you woke up every day and ate junk food, watched junk on TV, got little sleep, and all these other scenarios, ate bad, did bad things, then all the scenarios, like, you know what your world would do. All of us know what our world would do if we just didn't have any self-love and just neglected life. We all know what that looks like. And that can only keep going down and going down and going down. But if we did the exact opposite, we know what that can look like. And when I say that, man, like, and I say this all the time, when we think about our vision, when we think about us going to the next level in life, whatever the next level is, every single person knows exactly what it takes to do that thing. Every single person knows exactly what to do, man, to do that thing in our thoughts. And like I said, in 4 levels of becoming, a lot of times that just stays idea, but everybody knows what to do. It's just that a lot of us desire it without having the either ability, the knowledge, or whatever to become it. That's all it is. Like really the main meat and potatoes of change, the main meat and potatoes of creating a storm, quantum leaping, is becoming somebody else. Becoming somebody else. Meaning, and when I say becoming, because me and a brother talked about this the other day, man, when he was asking about a video when I was talking about a relationship with God, walking with God, we were talking about that. And it's the same thing. I said, you have to become a thing. Like when I said, oh yeah, I made a video where I said something like, you must understand that you're God, right? And you know, a lot of people think that is blasphemy, but that's not blasphemy. That's just an understanding of becoming. It's understanding that we're made in 2 parts. That's all it is. Understanding, when I say becoming, meaning your spiritual side, which understands you're already capable of everything, and your ego side become one. You can't not be God when you do that. And to be honest, everybody's doing that already. That's why I say everybody's life is in a constant state and they're complaining about it. They just don't understand how to become something else. But you're fellowshipping with God because whatever your spiritual side is capable of, you're bringing it down to where your ego is and forming a marriage right there. Your ego side can do all this stuff. But it can't do more than your spiritual side, but it can't do more than your ego side will allow it. So even though all things are possible, if your ego is capped out here, your spiritual is here. and you form a marriage. And that's what your life is doing. That's what my life is doing. But the higher we can raise this side up and allow this to match it, we can just become bigger and better things. So that's what I mean when I say becoming, man. And again, just real quick, you have to understand that when you do this, like this is the most important part. This is the most important part. You have to understand that when you do this, like you have to expect major change. You have to expect a storm. But you have to understand, and this is what brings ease to your mind, you have to understand that you created the storm. So when life starts, listen what I'm saying, brothers. This is crucial. When you start saying, man, I wake up every day, man, and I meditate and I'm walking in my I am, like I can feel the presence of God coming around me. I feel better every day. And all of a sudden, boom, chaos hits. Pink slip at the job. Wife or husband is saying, hey, you know what? I want to do something different. Bills are getting low. Money is getting funny. And you like, what in the world is going on? You have to stand in it, bro. This is the most crucial part, because right here is when most people retreat to the old world and say, you know what? Let me just build this world back up and I'll be okay. Like that storm is too heavy. This is what the majority of people that even try to quantum leap do. You know what I'm saying? I love how Rasha put it in her book, Oneness, right? Rasha said this, and I'm not sure the name of the chapter, but she said this, and she was talking about this. She said, as you begin to release the constraints that bind you to circumstances you have outgrown, you will discover that the direction of choice is found on a road that you must travel alone. As you gather the fragments of, it says, as you gather the fragments of the structure that crumbles around you, and as you cease trying to make sense of it, you will come to embrace the peace of knowing that the struggle is at last coming to an end. Now, I'm going to speak to it for a second, then I'm going to read it again, because I want y'all to really digest that. What Rasha was saying is, once you quantum leap, let me just say it like that. Once you quantum leap and you're traveling this journey, once you're traveling this journey and now you're walking in a different identity, Rasha said your world is going to change. She said, but don't do this. She said, when you see your world changing, she used the word crumble. When you see your world crumbling, Rasha said, don't reach for it trying to fix it. That's what most people try to do. When you see your job saying, hey, we might have to let you go. When you see your husband or wife saying, hey, man, things just ain't the same no more. When everything gets funny, don't try to fix it. Understand what it is. Rasha said, understand that, just know that the mission is almost accomplished. When you see that, the journey is almost over. The war is almost won when you see that. But Rasha said, whatever you do, don't reach for it. Don't try to fix it, because by you fixing it, it's going to put you back where you started. You want that to crumble. And I'm going to tell you, man, this is one of the hardest parts. And we're gonna speak about it a little deeper in a minute, but this is one of the hardest parts. I'm going to read it again. Rasha said, and again, it's in the book Oneness by Rasha. Here it is. Pretty plain and simple. It's a big book and it's very wordy. I've only read maybe 10% of it. If this is at the beginning, I'm sure if nuggets all in it. But Rasha said this: as you begin to release the constraints that bind you to circumstances you have outgrown, that's all we talked about, you will discover that the direction of choice is found on a road you must travel alone. As you gather the fragments of the structure that crumbles around you, and as you cease trying to make sense of it, you will come to embrace the peace of knowing that the struggle is at last coming to an end. So when the storm comes, you got to think about this, man. Sometimes it might take a minute for the storm to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like you might be walking in I am for a few days, a few weeks, a month. Who knows? You might be walking in I am and say, you know what, this is what life is. But at some point, when that storm hits, it's almost like that's God saying, you know what, you shown me now. Like I've seen you walk in this I am and go through all these different scenarios enough to say, you know what, this world no longer exists around you. It can no longer exist. You're not that thing anymore. So that world has to do something. But like Rasha said, do not reach for it. Like stand in it with peace. When the world is crumbling, man, and repo man is knocking, say, hey, man, like this is out of my control. Like old boy had a couple years ago, that meme that was going around. That dude was working at a hotel desk, and that lady had all those problems. He said, hey, it's above me now. He was like, bro, said, I can't do nothing about it. Like I've done a certain thing, I've submitted requests. Anything you say right now, anything that it's above me now, like it's out of my hands. Understand that when you create this new version and the world starts to shake, it's above you now, bro. There's no sense. There's no sense that when the repo man is knocking, when AT&T is calling, there's no sense of you coming out of your emotional state. That's what I said. That emotional state is everything, because what the world is doing, is testing you right then. Because anybody can create a storm, but only a few people can stand in it, bro. I'm gonna say it again. Everybody can create a storm, but only a few select people that got the gonads in the heart can stand in it. So when that world starts to present the old self, like, hey, I understand you lost your job. I understand X, Y, Z. You still got to do this. You still got to do this. Everybody, all the world is doing, and it can come in many shape, forms, or fashion. All the world is saying is, I want to see if you are who you say you are. Yeah, I see you waking up every day and you got all these new rituals and programs and you're working out and you're eating better. I'm going to test you. You know what I'm saying? Don't let these things bring you out of your prayer. They're walking in your I am, that fourth level of becoming. Don't let the world bring you out of that. Because to bring you out of that is for you to say, okay, I'm different now. Let me start picking up the pieces to my old world. Let me start gluing these pieces back together. Rasha said, when this happened, be aware that you at the end of this journey, man. You at the end of it. So that's how you create the storm. Now I want to talk about how you weather it. How you finish this last little piece to get to this quantum leap. Right? Let me take a little water, man. And when I talk about weathering the storm, I want to talk about 4 points on how pretty much on how to stand in it. That's all I'm really saying, on how to stand in it. When the storm is around you that you created, what state do you have to be in, or what things do you have to do to not retreat? That's what I want to talk about right there. The first thing is we must stay connected to the now. We must, the only way to walk in that God state is here. It's here. It's constant energy here. You know what I'm saying? We must stay connected to the now. And when I say stay connected to the now, you have to understand that the only thing that can take you out of your prayer is the past and the future. Those are the only things that can take you out of your now. Even those scenarios I talked about earlier, repo man, or old relationships coming back, or the job is saying da. It's trying to take you out of your present state. It's trying to say, hey, there's something up ahead you need to fear. Come out of that energy and fear like us. Or remember something from the past, remember that trauma. Like you need to come out of that state and recognize what I'm talking about. So to be focused on the past, or let me say it like this, not focused on, to be living from the past or living from the future, it is robbing you of creation. You know what I'm saying? It's extinguishing your storm that's used to create a new world. So you've done all this work, man, and you're going to let a person, place, or thing take you out of this and think about the future on something you don't have yet, or think about the past, some trauma you used to go through. It's robbing you of your storm. The storm is beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm going to say this. From a distance, people back in the free world, people that are still living in misery, they look at the storm. They see you going through something. They see your world in chaos, and they're saying, oh, man, Joe Blow is going through it. Man, you heard brother so-and-so got a divorce. You heard sister so-and-so got laid off from her job. They see the storm from 30 miles away. Like, it's like we're going down the interstate and we can see a storm, 20 miles down the road. We say, man, they down there catching hell. They down there catching hell. They don't understand there's a beauty about being in a storm, man. There's a beauty of that storm. That ultimate chaos to a man that understands. He understands, man, this had to take place, or this place I'm going can't be created. So you got to understand, man, you must stay connected to the now, because what people are trying to do is say, come out of that thing you're in. Like, you're only, think about Job in the Bible, Job, and I can't remember these words for word, but remember when Job's homeboys was saying, hey man, maybe you ought to retreat from this mindset that you've been in. You've been doing all these things. Maybe you ought to come back and think like us. And Job was like, nope. I know it looks like I'm sick right now, but this is part of it. Like, if I wasn't sick, I wouldn't be able to see y'all as my partners. Y'all don't need to be in my world. Job's wife saw the storm and she was like, baby, you need to come out of that. Job was like, I'm glad the storm happened because I never knew you worked for me. I didn't know that. So there's a beauty in the storm, man. Even when I talk about my worst situation, man, again, 2009, when I lost everything. I lost everything, or was in the process of it. Repo man, foreclosure man, lights out, drinking not even bottled water, tap water, bottom. When I was there, when I finally hit that rock bottom, and I'm like, bro, I don't even want to live no more. At the same time, I said, or shortly after I came out, I said, whoa, like, things are still bad. Lights are still off. But you know what? I can see the future now. Like, you gotta understand, man, a lot of part of the storm is to purge us. A lot of it is to test us, but it's to purge the old versions of ourselves. Because before then, my spirituality was locked in. How to make and save money was locked in. The way I thought relationships were supposed to be were locked in. But God took the storm, right? The storm that I created by changing my world. Look, I'll say it like that. Put me in a situation that said, man, all that I was standing on is really nothing. It serves no purpose. It has no power. And it wasn't until I got rid of that I could see the new. You know what I'm saying? So when you're going through that storm, man, it's all to the good. It's all about those powers that I talked about. If you aren't standing in those, you can't survive a storm. You can't survive it. You know what I'm saying? You can't survive it. So the first thing is staying connected to your now, right? The second thing, again, is 4 points, is, and they're all kind of connected, is surrender to the process. Surrender to the process, meaning life is going to do some things. And I just spoke about it. When I say surrender to the process, all I'm simply saying is stand on your square, man. When I say stand on your square, just say, I'm saying understand those powers. Understand that everything you see around your world that's falling apart, call it to the good. Say, you know what, instead of getting, again, emotional energy is everything. That's what's creating. Instead of getting emotionally connected to the world that's falling apart, just say, man, this is part of the process. And even though I can't see the new world presenting itself yet, like, I'm in a storm, I can only see what's around me. Even though I see the old world going into chaos, I have to know, I have to surrender to the process. I have to know that just on the other side of these clouds and thunderstorms, I have to know that a new world exists there. And I know that it exists there because I'm operating from it. I know it exists because that's a state I'm operating from. Like, I can't see it yet, but I'm living as if I'm there. That's why the storm is there. So it's a lot of it is understanding. You know what I'm saying? Understanding that I can't see a world. I don't really know the details of what it's going to look like when I get there, but it's in my mind. It's part of my vision. So I know that it exists, and operating from that. So when I say surrender to the process, just understand, and I keep saying these, job, relationships, health, maybe. When all these things start to crumble, just call it to the good, man. Call it to the good and stand on that square, bro. Don't move. Don't let anything or anybody allow you to take a step off and be in a different state of mind. Just be locked in. This is who I am. This is where I'm going. I see what's taking place. Yeah, take the car. Yeah, shut the lights off. Yeah, go ahead and leave my life. I'm standing right here. because I understand what is going. I know I understand what's happening. So you gotta understand when this storm comes in your life, it's gonna make everybody else respond. You got to see what everybody else is doing. Like, okay, let me see who's really on my team. That storm is gonna shake everybody up. You just stand on your square and observe the whole situation from that state of being. I see y'all. Continue. When the smoke clears, everybody needs to be there. We'll be there, right? So the second one is surrender to the process. The third one is burn the boats. Burn the boats, man. And I can't think of the scenario. He was like a colonel or a lieutenant. I used to know the story. The cap, or whatever his rank was, when he ordered his men to storm the bay. Y'all, I'm sure y'all have heard the story. And you know, they were outnumbered, out everything, right? And he said, we finna storm the beach. That's how we gonna take over it. And he said, let's burn the boats, right? And he said all the soldiers were tripping. And he said, there needs to be no other form of retreat except victory. There needs to be no other form of retreat except victory. This is a huge part of the storm, man. This is a huge part of the storm. And why I say it's huge, man, because a lot of times you're going to have to call plays that will make you or break you. When I say burn the boats, one side of that is, okay, eliminate all the vices. You know, if drinking is your vice and the drinking is holding you back, eliminate it. Don't go hang with the people or go to the places where alcohol is being served. If women is your thing, don't be going to the clubs. Like, okay, that's part of burning the boats. There's no other form of retreat. But another part of knowing no form of retreat is calling plays that will destroy you if they don't work. I'm gonna tell you, man, I've made some calls in my life that if it didn't play out, I would lose everything. I would lose everything, man. And I'll be honest, man. And I'm not sitting there saying that like, oh, well, I'm Saint Soul. No, it's just that I've lived life long enough. I've gone through a storm or two. It's like, man, like I understand now that every single time I went through it, for a moment, I doubted. For a split moment, I might have doubted. Then I might have came back around. It's to the point now where I've seen it enough time. I know God is over there. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm in a storm. I'm throwing Hail Marys through the clouds because I know God is over there. You know what I'm saying? So now I can call plays that sound stupid. You finna quit your job in the middle of Corona season? That's what I heard. I heard that every 5 minutes. I quit in the heat of Corona. When people were trying to worry about, we finna get laid off, we finna do this. And my situation wasn't perfect, but I was like, man, I created this storm in my life. Like I created a scenario of work. I stepped back and I just launched it. I just launched it and walked in it like I knew the ball would be caught on the other side. That's how you have to move, bro. You got to call shots outside of your norm and stand on it. That's the part of quantum leaping. Because if it wasn't for that, everybody could do it. Everybody can trust what they can see. You know, everybody can run a sweep. You know what I'm saying? Everybody can throw a 5-yard out into the flats. But I'm telling you, man, a lot of people aren't trying to throw a Hail Mary through the clouds, bro. Because you risking it all. It's fourth and forever. If nobody catches that ball, you're doomed. You're doomed, and everybody in your circle is doomed. But you have to know a certain thing. That's why I say, man, like faith and belief and all these words are good, but you have to know. You got to know, bro. So burn the boats, man. And the last part, it kind of just goes with what I'm talking about now, man, is you must walk on water, man. That kind of ties into that whole Hail Mary thing. You have to walk on water. And when I say walk on water, y'all know I'm referring to the book of Matthew when the messenger was with his partners, was with his bros, and I believe they had just fed the 5,000, right, on Mount whatever, wherever they were. They fed the 5,000, man, and I believe a storm was coming. And I might be wrong. I haven't read it in a while. I think I got some quotes on here. But the 5,000 were, they fed the 5,000, I believe, and a storm was coming, and the disciples were like, "Hey, Jesus, what we gonna do? Weatherman said a category 5 might be coming his way. And the messenger said, y'all go ahead and go. Y'all go ahead and go to the boats and head yonder ways. Y'all do what y'all got to do, man. You know how to move. You know how to sail a boat. Y'all go to the boats. Y'all do the thing y'all got to do, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to go up this mountain and I'm going to pray, is what the Bible said, right? Jesus went to the mountain to pray or something like that, right? You got to understand, man, in order to do all the things we talked about, that's the state you have to be in. Like you have to spend lots and lots of time in solitude. You have to spend, and I'm not necessarily talking about maybe not in the physical, but definitely in the spiritual. Like, I'm not saying you got to be in a room by yourself, but you got to be in that sacred space. You got to be in that sanctorum where you and God are having that conversation, man. Because that's where you're operating from. Like you have to live from that space. You live here now. You know what I'm saying? This is home. In order to stay in that one frequency, you can't come outside of this. You have to live from that space. So even though it said that's all it was saying, that the messenger was going to that sacred space. So man, you got to make sure you stay, you know, when I say walk on water, first you got to make sure you stay in this second space, stay in that sacred space. But the main thing is, going back to what I said, you have to move in your knowing. Because even though Jesus was saying, okay, yeah, a storm may be coming, y'all go ahead and get on the boat and just take off. And they sitting there scratching their head like, take off? Like we're gonna leave you here if we take off. Y'all go ahead and take off. Like I got this. I'll be there. Standing on a knowing. In other words, calling shots with only the end goal in mind. Calling shots from that place. Calling shots from that vision. Because what you're saying is, what you're saying is, I live there. Like the place y'all are getting ready to sail to, like I'm already living there. So there's no way in the world I can't make it there, because I'm already there. So y'all go ahead and take the boat. Then they said that, and I'm not sure how the story went at the end when it said, you know, I know it was Peter or somebody walking on the water, but it said that Jesus was walking on the water, getting to where he was going. And to walk on water is simply saying that I can live in this physical space, but I can operate from my mental. I can operate from the heaven I've created in my vision. So man, to create that storm and to weather that storm, man, it's a matter of living from the other side of the storm. You created the storm. The storm had to come in existence to manipulate your world, to purge your world, to test you. You call the storm, but you have to operate from the other side of the storm. That's the only way you can weather it. And again, if a person or people don't understand those three powers I talked about, they can't do it. Because all they're going to do is say, man, the storm is upon me. God, help me. Somebody has sent a storm my way. My job is doing this. The relationship is doing this to me. Not saying, hey, you know what? I know it looks bad. I know from the outside it may look like I'm going through something, but I created this thing. Because without this, I couldn't get to this vision. So it may look bad, but let me just operate from my mental space. That's how you weather it, bro. And I'm going to tell you, man, that's how I live my life. And again, I'm not sitting there saying, oh, well, soul has figured it out. But I believe everybody takes nuggets of God and can bring it in on their own. That's one of the nuggets, man, that I can easily say granted me my freedom in life, granted me my peace in life. Because even if life isn't going like I want it to go, it's just a matter of me changing my heaven, changing my actions, thoughts, and beliefs and rituals. And I know I'm going to get a certain thing, but I do know this. I do know before I get there, it won't all be skipping in a field of dandelions. It won't all be milk and honey. Like I know chaos is going to hit, man. So I expect it. I expect it. And I just stand in it, man, and wait on the rain to pass by, bro. You know what I'm saying? So if anybody has any questions on that, man, but I do want to put, if anybody has any questions, man, want to go on something deeper, let's chop. But I do have a plan of action for everybody on this call, man, and people watching the replay. A plan of action between now and the next call, man, is